All right, so that takes us to our next subject, which is Grindception. We've put this off for a couple of weeks, but we're getting to it now. There was an interesting thread, and it'll be in the show notes, that show you the numbers of what it takes to grind up suits and weapons and whatnot to get it to grade 5. Now, looking at this, grade 5 kinetic loadout, 224 manufacturing instructions, 108 weapon schematics, 174 compressed liquid gas, 330 tungsten carbides, 330 weapon components, 36 suit schematics, 37 health monitors, 36 power regulators, 110 titanium platings, 110 graphene. That's a total of 1,495 mats just to get the gear upgraded. That doesn't include the engineering, because we haven't seen that. We don't know what that's going to be, but guarantee you it's going to be more mats. So there is a massive increase in the number of actual things it's going to take you to upgrade your gear. In addition to that, unlike with ships, you can't swap your modules. So for some reason that I cannot fathom whatsoever, you need to have a silencer or suppressor for outside and a suppressor for inside. How the hell you need to suppress sound in space, I'll never understand, but you need 2 of them. And unlike your ship where you can say, I'm going to take off these Imperial hammers and in its place, I'm going to put in this plasma launcher. No, cannot do that. You have to build up 2 rifles and level them all the way up and gear them all the way up. And one of them is going to be the indoor silencer rifle. And one of them is going to be the outdoor silencer rifle, because Frontier has decided you cannot switch those silencers on your weapons. You just can't. So you're getting double the grind. Let's keep in mind something that I know my friend Down to Earth Astronomy put on his video with his summation of his alpha thoughts. So when Frontier first put out Elite Dangerous, they had a pool of mats. And so many people complained that it was such a pain in the balls that they said, okay, no, yeah, it's really dumb that you can only have so many mats. We're going to make it to where you can have so many of pharmaceutical isolators and so many of Imperial shielding. Correct. And then with Odyssey, they completely forgot that lesson that they learned over their customers being pissed off for years and said, hey, let's just go it back to the dumb way. So you have a smaller source of materials that you can hold, a much larger source of materials that are going to be required, 2 levels of engineering. The first level they're calling upgrade, and the second level they're calling engineering. Massive increased numbers of what's available, and you can't swap modules. This is, to me, a huge pain in the balls. And again, the thread is in the show notes for the guy's thread that he posted on here that explains the whole thing sort of top to bottom. It is going to be a massive, massive pain in the neck. I call it Grindception. So we'll start with you, Astro, and then go right on to Tweaked. Let's give us your thoughts on all this.
The materials, as they were in the alpha, was a little on the excessive side. And just to put this into perspective, we were able to hold, not in the suit, on the ships. So that's the maximum amount of materials or data you could hold for the new data materials. 100 was the size of the global pool. And you needed, 200 and something manufactured instructions for fully upgrading a suit. That means you have to go out and go, first of all, you need to discard all the data you have. And then you need to completely fill up on manufacturing instructions to the brim. Then you go and do the first part of your upgrade. Then you go and you fill up again and do the second part of your upgrade. And then you do it one more time and do it the third time. That's a very hard grind. And I'm not afraid of a hard grind, but that's a little intimidating for me. So first of all, individual storage, so we don't have to scrap materials, because that is annoying. And then I hope the numbers they put in there are hot numbers, so they're gonna dial that back a little bit, because I kind of feel like that the level upgrade that the upgrade we could do in the alpha should be relatively cheap, so you can easily just get the 5 levels, and this gives you a base upgrade. It gives you some extra shield hit points on your suits and a little bit extra damage on your weapons.
Oh god, you're scaring the hell out of me, because if in the alpha that was cheap, we are so fucked.
No, I said that should be cheap.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying it was. Far from. I'm saying it should be. and then make the engineering, like the specialized engineering part of it there, that's where the bulk of the materials should be. That also means for a new player, you can very easily, relatively quickly go and get a general suit a general weapon that can perform okay in the majority of missions, because you just have the 5 leveled upgrade. You don't have anything engineered on it yet because you haven't unlocked engineers yet, but you can get there relatively quickly and be maybe not competitive, but at least you can do missions with relative ease without getting killed too easily. So I feel like those level upgrades should be relatively cheap, and then have the engineering be where the bulk is. Where it is now, with like, you actually have to go out at least 3 times to fill up on just one of the materials. That is excessive, and I hope that's going to be dialed back significantly before launch.
Okay.
Or they're going to make it easier to collect, so we get 3 materials at a time, as we do with other materials in space. Interesting thing is, question could then be, well, has Frontier specifically tried to gimp our progression in the alpha because they didn't want us to necessarily get to the end suits that quickly, because they also want to see how it works early? That could be a reason why they may have increased it to the levels they are.
Well, I mean, you've seen that thread, so it was possible to do. This guy just grinded till his eyes bled and got to a level 4 suit on an alpha that's going to get reset in like a week. Poor guy. But I mean, thank God for him. I'm glad he did too, because these raw numbers are just disturbing, just massively disturbing. And I think I've been banging the drum for weeks, every week, saying this is not good gameplay. This is bad. This is suboptimal design and should be addressed. What do you think?
As I said, I think it's excessive as it is right now, and I hope they're going to reduce the material requirements for the general upgrades.
And of course, your idea also about, please, you learned the lesson. It was a hard-learned lesson, and you learned it already in Elite Dangerous. Let's not forget the lesson. Let's not have a pool of materials. Let's separate it. That's a much better design.
Individual storage, yes, please. Yeah, and also it's just as a new player, when you come in and you say, so why do I have individual storage for this tab? When I go to this tab, I have a pool. And then like all the players, oh, so this is because, and it just feels weird, I think. But in general, just give us more stuff for materials, because I was able to max out my my data storage in a matter of an hour or 2 of playing. When you're farming hard, you can max out that 100 cap. But to be fair, these things with changing the numbers on how much things cost in terms of materials and that kind of thing has very historically always, it's easy to change, and has always been the last thing Frontier does. They always put in hot numbers for alphas, and we've seen in the past that they've also put in numbers where they specifically put them way off what their final target was, because they weren't sure what the final target was. So they would purposely put something in where everybody could see that this is not like where it's gonna be when it comes out at the end. And I hope that's what they've done here as well, that they said, okay, we're just gonna put them in high, we don't want people to progress too fast.
But that's the point of the show though, Astro, is they're now at the point where they're done with the alpha and they're about to roll out the launch product. This is the time where we give the feedback to them, we get the community whipped up so that the community expresses their thoughts on the forums and streams and wherever, and then hopefully Frontier hears that and says, okay, let's dial this down a little bit, because if they don't and it releases, that's way harder to make a turn. Now is the perfect time to steer the ship a little to the left or to the right to avoid that iceberg, you know?
If they release this, then they show their hands, because when they hit that release button on the 19th, then they have made a decision saying these numbers is what we think is balanced and correct. They cannot come afterwards and say, oh no, we know this was too high, we gotta fix it later. No. You don't do that for a launch. So on the 19th, Frontier's gonna be forced to show their hands and show what levels they have come up with as being feasible in terms of material gathering. And I just hope it's gonna be quite a bit less than what it is, or what it was in the alpha.
Absolutely. Tweaked, your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of look at this a different way, and you just touched on it a little bit there. My first thought about this is, remember the fleet carriers. Remember how everybody was flipping out because they were going to be 12 billion credits or something, and then all the numbers got dropped drastically. I think we're seeing the same thing here. They start high so that when it releases lower, the fan base, the community is much happier.
Tweaked, I swear to Christ, Tweaked, from your lips to God's ears, because if that's the case, I will come to you wherever you're at, kiss you right on the lips.
I just feel like that's what they're doing. They've got precedent of doing it before. I think that's going to happen again. That being said, and while I don't love grinding necessarily, I'm at a point in my Elite Dangerous career, I guess, where I'm bored because I have nothing to grind for. So I kind of feel like, I mean, the federal grind for your Corvette was a hell of a grind.
If these numbers stay the same, let me tell you something. You're going to be very happy because you're going to have something to grind for years.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of a goal-oriented guy. So when they put a goal in front of me, if it's something that I want to accomplish, if there's a reward at the end of the rainbow that is worthwhile to me, I'll get it done. And if it provides me 6 months of game time to do it, then so be it. I'm kind of okay with that. That being said, I don't want it to be a ridiculous, over the top, stab yourself with toothpicks kind of grind either. But
do you stab yourself with toothpicks sometime? Is this something we need to talk about off air? I feel like we need an intervention. That'll be later. Again, check out this thread. I want to call out Commander the Riz, the R-I-Z. Phenomenal work. Big salute, Commander. I thank you. I'm sure the whole cast thanks you. And the players of Elite Dangerous should thank you for your service in this, going through this grind to make this thread, to kind of open people's eyes up for what they're in for. And hopefully, your work here is not wasted. Your work, along with our voices, along with other people that have listened, that will speak up themselves, can convince Frontier, maybe it's time for a little tweak, just a little tweak right there on that.